I love Spider-Man 2099. I love the whole future aspect of him. I love the different powers. I love the different attitude he brings to the world and to the story. He's a cool character, and now that he's kind of really in the spotlight, I thought it would be a good time to go ahead and just dive really deep into the character, into the lore, everything you could possibly need to know about Spider-Man 2099. Let's hop into it. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Comic Crash, my little show on the internet where we talk about comic books and stuff. Back in 1990, Marvel Comics asked the very big and interesting question, what would the world of Marvel Comics look like in 100 years? And they must have really liked the idea of this question because Stan Lee himself spearheaded the project, and he brought on legendary creator John Byrne to come in, and the two of them were going to co-plot and create a book called The Marvel World of Tomorrow. The project got hyped, it got retooled, it got remade, it got rebuilt, then it got shelved. John Byrne ended up leaving and taking a bunch of his ideas and making his own book called John Byrne 2112, which if you look too close, kind of looks like a future version of Nick Fury. But Marvel still kind of believed that the idea here, the idea of this future Marvel, could really be successful and really be something people would latch onto. So they continued on with the project and turned it into its own thing. It was no longer just a single issue special. It became a full imprint full of regular issues released all the time. You could go in there, you can get $20.99. It was a whole thing. The thesis of this imprint is a familiar one. The mega corporations have taken over everything, and the rights of the company have now outweighed the rights of the individual, and everything has become privatized. And in this weird, nasty, dystopian future where the rich get even richer and the poor get even poorer, and the haves and have-nots, and it's a whole thing. And in the middle of this huge class struggle come the superheroes who are fighting for the rights and liberties of the downtrodden. The imprint started with 4 different stories. You had Stan Lee co-creating and co-plotting Ravage 2099, a completely new character, John Francis Moore, who was writing Doom 2099, Pat Millis, who was writing Punisher 2099, and the legendary Peter David writing Spider-Man 2099, the most popular and the biggest flagship series in the imprint. Spider-Man 2099 does what it says on the tin. It's a version of Spider-Man in the year 2099. But that's not all. It's not as simple as that. Spider-Man 2099 goes way further and way different than any other version of Spider-Man you've seen before. See, the thing is, back in 1999, a big catastrophic event happened that wiped out all of the world's superheroes, and no one quite remembers what happened because there weren't really any records being kept. So there were like 30 years missing. What we do know is that the corporations showed up, they started fixing everything for a price, people paid that price, and then the price just kept getting higher. So the story starts with Alchemax. Alchemax is this huge, big mega corporation that basically owns the United States. And of its many ventures, genetic research is one of its biggest, and Miguel O'Hara is its #1 researcher. So Miguel is working on creating a new kind of super soldier for Alchemax. Alchemax has this big network of cops and super bounty hunters that work for them, and they want to always expand that, make them more powerful so less people can escape them when Alchemax needs to chase somebody down. So Miguel is trying to come up with a new super soldier, and he finds that amongst all of the superheroes of the old heroic age, Spider-Man would be the coolest enforcer because he can climb walls, he can't be pushed over, he has super strength, he has the ability to just jump forever. Yeah, he's really cool. So it makes sense to try and capture that, and Alchemax wants to own that. So he's working on this machine that will graft in different kinds of DNA into a test subject and give them the powers and attributes of whatever extra DNA they're given with. Now, Ty Stone, who's the president of Alchemax, shows up and he says, hey, I bought out the life sentence of this criminal. I want you to go ahead and start with human testing. And Miguel is like, no, I don't want to do human testing. We're not ready for human testing. But he's like, I don't care. We're going to do human testing. And Miguel's like, fine, we'll do it, but this is on you. So they strap the guy into the machine. His name is Sims, and they turn it on. And after a couple of minutes, they turn it off, and Miguel goes over to the capsule that they strapped him into, and opens it up. And Sims pops out, and he's all gargled and mangled and mutated and disgusting. And he reaches out, and then he dies immediately. And all of the scientists are just stunned, and they're like, oh, this guy is super cool. He got super strength. He died, but maybe he might not die next time. And Miguel's like, wow, you guys are terrible people. But then Miguel goes to Ty's office after all of this is over and says, look, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be a part of your company. This is shady. This is evil. You're evil. I'm out. And Ty says, okay, fine. You can leave. No hard feelings. Care to have a drink? And so Miguel takes his drink, and Ty looks at him and says, thank you for drinking that. That right in there is called Rapture. Rapture is a hallucinogenic drug that once ingested becomes grafted to your DNA, makes you genetically addicted to it. And the only proper legal distribution of Rapture is through Alchemax. Look at that. So it sounds like some of you guys aren't getting it. This is your DNA. This is your DNA on Rapture. Not even once, kids. Wow, the lighting in here is bad. Now Miguel just goes home and he is incredibly genetically addicted to this drug, held hostage by Alchemax.
Are you tired of the mundane, the ordinary, and the everyday? Are you yearning for an experience that transcends reality itself? Introducing Rapture, the revolutionary hallucinogenic wonder drug that will take you on a mind-bending journey like no other. With years of groundbreaking research, we've crafted Rapture to unlock the hidden depths of your imagination.
Rapture is not for everyone. Side effects may include DNA manipulation, RNA deprivation, mood swings, mood slides, mood monkey bars, explosive diarrhea, vomiting, delusions of grandeur, and food cravings for warm mayonnaise. Depression may worsen after taking Rapture, as may paranoia and independent thought. Do not take Rapture if you have a family history of breathing, sneezing, high blood sugar, low blood sugar, medium blood sugar, or gummy bears.
Ask your doctor about Rapture. Prepare to awaken your senses and unlock the doors of perception. Rapture, another great product from Alchemax.
Later that night, Miguel comes up with a plan. He can go back to the genetic encoder and put his own DNA into it. And then, when he turns on the machine, he will be imprinted with his own DNA from before he took the Rapture, which then would make him not addicted to the substance, which means he is free to leave. And so he tries to do that. He goes into the lab, and he puts in all of the information, hops into the genetic encoder. But a jealous coworker found Miguel was doing this, and he knows that if Miguel gets out of the way, then he will take his job. So he goes into the room and starts turning dials, starts messing with things, starts smacking machines around, and then the genetic encoder explodes. And Miguel pops out of it, having become a strange, mutated, off-breed version of what Spider-Man is.
Alchemax Human Resources Files ASM 928. Miguel O'Hara. Alias, Spider-Man. Experimental DNA grafting grants enhanced strength, perfected equilibrium, and advanced agility beyond normal human capacities. Razor-sharp talons on fingers and toes allow grafting to walls and other surfaces, can be used as melee weapons. Caution, constricting talons back inside fingertips requires constant concentration. Forearms produce simulated spider silk organically. Enhanced vision allows longer range of focus and enhanced nocturnal vision. Caution, increased sensitivity to normal daylight and indoor lighting. Coloring change to unnatural red. Must conceal eyes behind protective sunwear. Caution, canines have been converted to fangs. Speech capabilities hindered.
Now, this coworker, he sees Miguel and sees the mutations, and he just flips out and starts booking it and trips and falls out of the building. Miguel rushes over, grabs him, but his talents that he doesn't know he has just start carving into the guy's arm, and so he starts wriggling, trying to get out, trying to get free, and eventually he does, and then he falls and plummets to his death. So Miguel runs away. Now the Private Eye, which is the Alchemax police force, is scouring the building trying to figure out what happened, and they're on the tail of Miguel trying to catch him. But Miguel, as he is falling, falls right onto one of these religious fanatics. He's part of the Thorite religion, which is this religion that believes that Thor will one day return to the earth and end the whole dystopian future thing that they're a part of. He meets this Thorite and ends up shredding his hang glider kite thing. It's just a hang glider kite that is really, really cool. It produces these particles that kind of negate gravity. It's very, very cool. But he ends up shredding it because he has these talons on his fingers. And the Thorite looks at him and is like, "You're Spider-Man. You're the Herald of Thor." He's like, "I'm not Spider-Man." "Yes, you are. We're going to call you Spider-Man for now on, and it's going to be fantastic. Here, you might as well take the shredded remains of my kite. Spider-Man needs his face covered." And so Miguel has now like this, it looks like a web. Looks like it could be used as a cape. But his biggest priority is just getting home, so that's what he does. He wraps the kite around his face and he heads home. Now the next morning, Ty is going over the damage at the lab, trying to figure out exactly what happened. The security was turned off before they got there, but they did hire this bounty hunter who has like this infrared vision thing because it's the future. Why wouldn't he have that? And when he's looking around, he sees this imprint of a man who apparently just scaled the wall, just started climbing up and down the wall. And he's like, "Well, that's weird. I guess you have a Spider-Man problem now." And Ty is like, "Great, now we have a Spider-Man problem. I'm hiring you to go out there and find out what happened and catch the dude." And so the bounty hunter's like, "Sure, I'll go ahead and go out there and catch the dude." Meanwhile, Miguel has woken up and his bed sheets and his mattress and everything is just shredded to bits because his fingers have talons on them and they just cut everything. So he's like, he tries to find like something that will help prevent that a little bit. And he remembers that he has this costume that he picked up at the most recent Day of the Dead event that he went to in Mexico. And it's made out of something called UMF, which is virtually unbreakable. And he uses that as a costume and combines it with the Thorite kite to become a web cape on top of the costume, and the costume looks sick.
This summer, Alchemax invites you to step into a world of fashion unlike anything you've ever seen before. Introducing UMF, style that truly transforms. UMF's unparalleled durability makes it virtually indestructible, ensuring your clothes stay flawless. Whether you're on the field, at the workplace, or exploring the great outdoors, UMF has got your back. Alchemax's sleek and eye-catching designs will make you the center of attention at any event or gathering. Stand out from the crowd and make a fashion statement that's truly beyond our time. UMF by Alchemax. Rebuilding our world.
And what's up with the costume? Is that a metallic fiber?
From afar, Miguel is able to see this bounty hunter is on his trail. And he's like, that's not going to be good. That's actually really, really bad. So he puts on the costume, jumps out the window, and tries to recover his steps so that the bounty hunter is thrown off the trail and doesn't think, "Oh wait, it's probably Miguel O'Hara." He just went through his house, so to say. It's actually really, really clever. Miguel is a smart man. So Miguel and the bounty hunter are chasing each other back and forth through the streets, and when they get to street level, the bounty hunter is like, okay, well, if I can't fight you, I'm just going to start hurting people down here. And he finds like this group of protesters who are trying to, speak out against Alchemax, speak out against this mega corporation. And he's like, I'm just going to start killing these people if you don't let me capture you. And it's at this moment that Miguel realizes that with great power comes great ability to protect people from the bad guy. And so they fight, Miguel wins, and just is thrown into this life now where he has to be Spider-Man. So by day, he is Miguel O'Hara, working at Alchemax, trying to undermine its operations and trying to change the way that Alchemax works. And at night, he is Spider-Man, going out there, fighting with the revolutionaries, trying to bring equality back to the people of the world.
Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man of the year 2099.
That's me, ready to save the universe and looking good while doing it.
And as the issues continue on, Miguel's world just gets bigger and more complicated and more intricate. Side characters come, side characters leave, drama happens, his status in the world changes, and it's really, really, really fascinating. And I just don't want to spoil it for you guys because really, it's worth reading. It's worth reading the entirety of this original series. It's only like 46 issues though, so it's not like super long. And the popularity of Spider-Man 2099 led to a lot of big things. More characters and more books showed up. We got Fantastic Four 2099, we got X-Men 2099, we got Hulk, we got Ghost Rider, and it just continued to grow. But it couldn't stay that way. Because in 1996, Marvel Comics was doomed.
Marvel Comics might not soon be there. The company is filing Chapter 13, and that's not good for fans.
There's never been a situation like this. This is unique in the history of comic publishing.
Spider-Man, Captain America, and the X-Men characters are on the racks, but for how long? Bankruptcy doesn't denote printers shutting down, but the connotation does cast a shadow on the comic world.
Do you, as a consumer, worry?
Yeah, a little bit. I hope they don't cancel anything, but that's some pretty serious stuff.
You see, in 1996, the whole comic book industry was facing this ginormous market crash. The collector's market was really booming in the early 90s, and a lot of publishers felt like they could capitalize on that. So you'd have tons of the same issue being released over and over and over. The idea was that, speculators are going to buy one book to read and then they're going to buy, 12 books to save and resell later and make tons and tons of money. Problem is though, no one made tons and tons of money with these books. People still don't. If you buy books from this time, chances are they're not going to be worth a whole lot. But that combined with really weird and strange marketing deals and licensing and company mergers on the corporate level at Marvel really started to hurt the company. Even though the company was doing pretty well quality-wise and the comic books were selling, it just wasn't enough to keep Marvel Comics afloat. Marvel had to keep scaling back and cutting things and cutting people out, and one of the people that they ended up letting go was Joey Cavallari. And Joey Cavallari was important because he was the editor of the 2099 imprint. And once Joey was let go, a bunch of writers and artists from the 2099 imprint left, including Peter David and Warren Ellis, who were the creative team behind Spider-Man 2099. Once they left, it just didn't feel like they could sustain 2099, or at least not as widely as it had become. And so books started getting canceled, and Spider-Man 2099 was one of those books on the chopping block. Which, if we want to put a positive spin on that, it does afford 2099 something that mainstream Marvel can't afford, and that is that it got a very solid and definitive end. A few mini-series later, we end up coming across a book called 2099 Manifest Destiny, and the purpose of this book was to completely end the 2099 imprint, just put a hard stop to anything that was happening up to that point. So in 2099 Manifest Destiny, Miguel O'Hara is a main character in that, though he doesn't do a whole lot of Spider-Man, frustratingly. What he does do is he gets his team together because he heard a rumor that one of the heroes from the heroic age survived the purge of 1999, and he's still out there. You can find him. And they did. They found Captain America just floating out there in the middle of the world in suspended animation because the poor man is just not allowed to have a normal lifespan. And when they bring Captain America back, Miguel O'Hara gives him Thor's hammer. They found Thor's hammer. The cane version, they couldn't turn it into the hammer itself, but Captain America can. So he takes the cane, smacks it on the ground, it turns into the hammer, and Captain America with that hammer leads the new Avengers into battle. Not the new Avengers, but different Avengers who are new. They're out in space and they defeat the bad guy, but Captain America's running out of oxygen, so he takes the hammer and he throws it through space, and Miguel catches it. And Miguel turns out is worthy to wield Thor's hammer. He goes back home and he's the president of Alchemax by this point, and he sets the hammer down and he's like, why don't I transform into like a Thor version of myself? What's up with that? But that's when he learns the hammer isn't just for physical battles. Sometimes the hammer is there to lead you through rebuilding. And that is what Miguel does. He uses this hammer and he uses the authority that the hammer gives him to help change the world, to take it from its dystopian future that it's in and turns it into a utopia. And 1,000 years later, old man Miguel O'Hara is shocked to learn that a new team has gone out into space and found, in suspended animation, Captain America again. So it's like, wow, this poor man, he can't just live life. And so now he's like, 1,200 years away from where he's supposed to be. The poor guy. And so Miguel gives the hammer back to Captain America and says, thank you. We've built a future for ourselves here. And Captain America says, you know what? I'm happy for you. You did good. Now I'm going to take this hammer, I'm going to help rebuild other galaxies out there. Because now I can breathe in space. I couldn't breathe in space earlier, but now I can. And so he takes the hammer and he flies off into space, and that's the end of the 2099 canon. It ends with them creating a utopian society, and humanity goes out into space and they meet other civilizations, strange new worlds, strange new civilizations, and they boldly go where no man has gone before. That's the whole thing. It's a nice ending. It's the ending I was kind of hoping that 2099 would have, because like we see so many dystopian stories just end with, oh my goodness, now everything is bad and it's going to stay bad. But like, this is superheroes. Ultimately, superheroes present hope for the future. And it was nice to see a happy ending come from this dark and twisted version of the future. It's nice. I like it. The book itself is kind of silly. The book itself is kind of whatever. But the ending to the saga is nice. And so, that was it. That was the end of the Spider-Man 2099 comic book. But Miguel and his legacy didn't quite end there, because he ended up flourishing in a completely different medium. The medium of video games. The character was introduced in 1992, and since then there have been 20 Spider-Man games on home consoles. Of the 20, 10 don't have any extra cosmetic content outside of the game itself. 4 featured Miguel as a costume option for Peter, Miles had an altered version of 2099 for his game, and 2 feature him as the actual character. And those 2 games had enough of a cult following to keep the character relevant after his book was cancelled. Heck, Edge of Time is even written by his creator, Peter David. And it's worth mentioning that Miguel also appears as himself in the gameplay and on the cover of LEGO Marvel 2. And his most recent appearance as of me recording was as a Fortnite skin to tie into his appearance in the movie Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And then before that, he showed up in an episode of Ultimate Spider-Man, and before that, he almost got his own TV series. So, have you guys seen this TV series, Spider-Man Unlimited? Yeah. If you squint just a little bit, not even too much squinting, just a little bit of squinting, Spider-Man Unlimited looks an awful lot like Spider-Man 2099, and I guess that's because initially that show was supposed to be 2099. It was supposed to continue that on, but it ended up not. And I think that change must have been made last minute. The reason why is because Batman Beyond was on the other network, and they're like, can we really have 2 anti-megacorp futuristic dystopian superheroes on TV at the same time? Of course, you and I both know that the answer is yes. They thought the answer was no. So they changed Spider-Man Unlimited. And it's the changes that they made that show so bizarre and strange. If they kept it as 2099, it would have been fantastic. And of course, a character like this can't stay away from comics too long. In fact, in 2014, he got Volume 2 that went right into Volume 3 of his own solo series. The premise of this particular series is that he got stranded in his past, our present day, and he's right there at the very beginning of Alchemax's starting to become a big corporate entity, and his goal is to try and minimize Alchemax, if not completely destroy it, right from the get-go. And then there was a weird Volume 4. It was only 1 issue, and then it tied into a bunch of other stories and comics. That was Old Man Miguel from the future that we talked about already shows up and trains a different Miguel O'Hara into becoming a different Spider-Man 2099. It's a thing. I didn't like it very much, but it is there. But right now what I'm really hoping for is that he was popular enough in the movie, in Across the Spider-Verse movie, that he'll get his own series yet again. Though I do hope that they portray him a little bit closer to how he is in the comics than he was in the movie, but that's a whole other discussion. I made a video on it. Check it out. Put it in the corner, wherever that corner is. There's a lot to love about Spider-Man 2099. I personally knew him best as a video game character while growing up, but the comic books were never far from my mind, and now having been able to read a bunch of them, I can confidently say that Miguel is probably my favorite secondary Spider-Man to Peter Parker. He's really fascinating, really cool. So with the success of the Spider-Man movie, I would love to see him expand further. Maybe we can get another video game in the same canon as the Spider-Man PS4 game. You know, another spin-off, kind of like we got with Miles Morales. That would be really cool to play around at a futuristic, open world New York City like that, where you have multiple levels and you have all these cool future powers. Oh, that'd be fun. That would be so cool. I would love that. And maybe he'll finally get that animated series that he was kind of cheated out of back in the day too. That would be really cool. Anyway, the future is wide open, and of course, you know, hopefully he'll get more comic books in the future as well. It's great, I'm excited, it's fantastic. So hopefully you found a lot of new information and a lot of enjoyment out of this video. Go ahead and let's chat in the comments. What do you think of Miguel O'Hara? What do you think of his story? Do you want to see more of him in the future? I don't know, go ahead and talk about it in the comments, and until next time. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day, and remember to always be your best self.